Jaden, I think, looked at the camera and said,
"This is low-key a nightmare."
"This is a low-key nightmare." It really was. We had just holes that were 4 inches deep in this floor. It was bad. Grates started popping and taking out concrete chunks with it. And we're like, what are we gonna do? My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm the Alexandria Volunteer Fire Department Fire Chief. I raised my hand and took the oath in July 12th of 1993. We run probably, I don't know, a little over 250 calls a year. We have a really young department, but we have some really, really good people. I would put this department up against anything. We've had some big calls, and this department just doesn't miss a lick. This building that we're sitting in right now, we moved into it April 1st of 1994. So this floor was built or poured, the concrete in 1993. So if you look at it from a standpoint that you really need to take care of your people all the time, okay? Support your people and so forth. However, though, sometimes you got to take care of the building that keeps your equipment and so forth. We're taxpayer funded, so we have to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar. When you look at some of these trucks, the truck behind me was $1.2 million. It's one of our biggest resources or assets. But your building's your asset to house this stuff. I mean, you're not just like, oh, it's 600, 700,000, just leave her parked outside and just run an extension cord to it or whatever. This concrete with the, Minnesota, the salt, the gravel on these big trucks, water was just puddling, just standing there. Basically, the steel drainage grates rusted so bad, even the rebar, that went in deep into it had rusted so bad. We had big holes just chunking out. We did have some repairs, we would do it, and we were just trying to band-aid it along, limp it along. It was about a year process to like, hey, what are we gonna do with this floor? We really need to get this floor taken care of. We really didn't have any direction. We're like, oh, do we just go get Fleet Farm stuff or, and that's not a bad product, I'm not saying that, but it's not apples to apples. We did have some of the holes that were so bad, we had put some Sackcrete in it, and that was kind of the Band-Aid. We had other flooring companies come in here and they're like, nope, I'm not even gonna touch it. Not even gonna give you a bid on it. Or if I do it, I'd have to hire a concrete guy and the concrete guy isn't gonna want it. And the price that they were thinking, it was outrageous. Outrageous, we can't spend that. And then just by chance, someone mentioned creative coatings, and then it just kind of kept going from there. There was some logistics to figure out, right? You have fire trucks that have to be able to respond, and you actually have to keep your stuff in your station. You can't like say, oh, let's just move it to a different building or leave it out on the ramp, because weather-wise, you don't want the water to freeze in your pumps either, and also you're leaving these trucks. You don't want vandalism or theft or anything like that. So we had to okay, let's do it in two parts, half and half. We kind of came up with a plan. That first day, I remember we came in, had a few firefighters here. The drains hadn't been cleaned for years. They were so rusted in, because there was a metal channel that was in the shoulders of the grates, and it was a metal channel, and then these cast iron grates, which were, I think, right around 70 pounds each, were almost welded in with rust. They were pretty tight to get out. They had to use our hearse tool that we use for car accidents. They're like 20,000 pounds of pressure on the tips, and those were popping 4 or 5 feet in the air. I was like, oh my gosh, we're just gonna bust a $12,000 piece of equipment. I want to give credit to Jaden and John and Creative Coatings, that whole crew, because instead of just being like, hey, let's throw our product down and let's just squeegee it or whatever and call it a day and we're out of here, we had to do some problem solving and critical thinking. What are we gonna do? Because they were just chunks of concrete. We're coming out with that rebar. They actually had to rebuild all the drains, and they used their product, which is actually a stronger product than cement. If you start looking at the numbers and the pounds per square inch, it's almost double the strength of concrete. Once we got it figured out, it went pretty good. So one side it took a little longer, but then once we got it figured out, the other side went a lot quicker because we knew what we were doing. Creative Coatings did everything from stripping down, rebuilding, everything. And it's these little things, I think, that Jaden and John thought of, is like, if you walked in this floor, each bay has just a little bit of a drop to it so the water runs to these grates. It did a little bit before, but so as you're putting this coating on, you know, we had so many big holes. They're like, oh, are we gonna get that same slope to it? They were very meticulous in making sure that we had the same slope. There hasn't been any water standing, and that's what caused it. It wasn't running into the grates. It was just pooling, and then it was seeping down, and then it was rusting, all that stuff. So now we have the correct slope and drain to the grates. And then we got messing around, and they're like, well, what color? People creep on the internet, and I was looking up fire station floors, and I saw a couple fire stations with red, and I'm like, whoa, that looked pretty good. At first it looked a little loud, like, oh boy, this is a little overkill, way too much. But once you put the black alleys in there, the safety alleys and the white, honestly, this is pretty sharp. This is, I think, probably one of the better decisions I've done. Then it got to be like, well, hey, maybe we should, you know, put these logos. So we had a local company make logos, and then their attention to detail. We had some that were like, you know, air bubbles, they're bubbling up a little bit. And, you know, honestly, you probably could have said, that's fine. It's a couple air bubbles here and there, whatever, it'll last. It wasn't really good enough. They had the, you know, the eye for the detail. They had to grind out the sand, and John, bless his heart, I think he went at home and he cut out a template. It was quite a production. They had the tenacity to like, nope, we're gonna keep getting it until we can go. And you can see it's smooth as, you know, a baby's butt, basically. So we're getting it, boom, boom, boom. And we had talked about, you know, the white stripes, because we do use 54-foot long trucks, 80,000 pounds, you wanna back up on the line. So we measured, they had the lines figured out. Then we talked about, they actually took lines out the front of the garage door, which was not there before. And I can tell you, for me, I'm not a very good big truck guy. Some of our guys are very, very good, but when I'd be alone here and I'd have to move a truck out and then bring it back in, it was so hard to see with the glare coming in on the floor. You couldn't see your backup line. Jaden and Philip and John, they had this thing. It was almost like they etched out a little path, and we took it out and we made it so nice out there. It's like 21 feet. You know, they made it so it's not staggered. They made it look really finished, a finished look to it. It now, night and day difference. The guys come in, you know, they whip the truck around and they back in. It's safer, more efficient, quicker. We were worried about the city plowing it, and then it would just scrape off the paint. They addressed that by going like just such a little bit into the concrete and like grooves, and then they put epoxy, and then this coating, and then another coating. It turned out amazing. I can see why Creative Coating stands behind their product, because it was put down the way it's supposed to be. And like I said, they crossed every T and dotted every I going through this thing, like make sure the product end result was what we wanted and what was gonna last too. Can't say enough about it. It's got a double broadcast. They threw the sand down, they put the product, and it's very easy to clean up. I just think it elevated the look of the building, the fire station. You think of fire departments red, fire trucks are red. I can't say enough about this. I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad they were the people that could do it for us. The attention to detail and the communication was not the cookie cutter where like corporate comes in and poof. You know, you still can see they have a small town company or a family business. Sometimes that's what you need for that detail, because they're putting basically their name on it. They were very good at working with us to make sure we could ensure that a fire response for the community was still here. We had no disruption to any fire call response. Communication, attention to detail, and when they worked, they were working hard. It's amazing. I'd invite anyone to come down or give me a call on this, because once you see it, you'll be like, yep, that's it. We need to get them in. If you look at this floor, you walk around, I will most likely not be on this earth anymore when this floor needs to be redone or you go into a different building, because it is literally bulletproof, this floor.